Hey guys, welcome to Bird VIP Pass. Today we have an event called Toxic Pursuit featuring new Skuntank V from Silver Tempest with a super cool new attack, Pursuit Blast, allowing you to do 120 damage to your opponent's one of your opponent's bench Pokemon if that Pokemon retreated to the bench on your opponent's last turn. It only does 30 damage otherwise to any one of your opponent's bench Pokemon for 2 colorless. If they retreat though, you get to do a bit more. For a basic Pokemon, 2 energy cards is actually pretty versatile. You can play with Melanie, you can play with Dark Patch. So for this deck though, we are playing it with our Galarian Slowking VMAX, helping us poison our opponent's active with Max Toxify, doing 150 damage for our first strike, while placing 15 damage counter with Poison Effect using our Radiant Sneasler as well. So we're placing more damage counters with our, what's it called, the ability, Poison Jab, Poison Peak ability, and also our, single strike energy, choice belt. We are doing more damage with our Slowking, but not quite enough to knock them out if they don't stay in the active spot for more than 1 turn. If they retreat or switch, we actually can't knock them out with the poison, and that's why we have our Skuntank to basically collect the knockout against a V-Star or even a VMAX. If we play our a damage boost, we may be able to knock them out. We may be able to knock out a V-Star, but not quite easily if we do a VMAX though. If we want to knock out a VMAX, we kind of need to do a boss because we're not actually doing enough damage with our Max Toxify. We're placing up to 18 damage counter if we're lucky. If we're super lucky, if we get all the damage boost, single strike energy, choice belt, and Sneasler on the bench, we actually get to do up to 20 damage counter, place up to 20 damage counter on their active with our Max Toxify. And then on the next turn, if they retreat, we actually get to do Pursuit Blast, adding up to 32 damage counter on their bench VMAX. But if they have 330 HP though, if they play Kyurem VMAX or any other Pokemon, any other VMAXs at 330 HP, we can't actually knock them out with Skuntank. So we don't have Telescopic Sight or Zigzagoon for this deck. I initially built this deck with the Zigzagoon to place that extra 1 damage counter against VMAXs. You can even think about Radiant Howlucha as well to help you do extra damage with your Slowking before you actually collect the knockout with your Skuntank. But eventually I decided to just focus on V-Star knockouts, because if we can kill a V-Star with Pursuit Blast, that would be good enough. Against VMAXs, we can actually play Serena to target their VMAX, and we are playing 1 copy of Serena with 1 boss in this deck, but I would recommend having 2 Serenas. Eventually I decided playing only 1 copy just because we need a Bird Keeper if we want to do our Skuntank V, if we want to play our surprise Pursuit Blast to do a knockout on the bench. We actually need to do a Bird Keeper switch at the last minute. We have 1 hiding as well. If we attack with Max Toxify this turn, we can actually retreat after benching our Skuntank V and then do an Energy Switch or Dark Patch or something like that, or even attach a double turbo on the same turn to basically retreat and attack with Pursuit Blast right after they retreat their Pokemon. So we also have our regular supporter cards: Research, Schoolgirl, Serena, 1 copy of Zinnia, 1 copy of Marnie, and 2 Bird Keeper to draw cards. We have 1 Misfortune Sister as well to discard their switch cards. So important to note that if they switch their Pokemon, you can't actually use Pursuit Blast to do extra damage. You are only doing 120 if they retreat their Pokemon on the last turn, and if they retreat twice, if they retreat and switch into the same Pokemon to attack with the same Pokemon, you actually can't use Pursuit Blast on that active. It only works on the bench Pokemon if they retreated their active onto the bench, and it only allows you to damage bench Pokemon as well. So this is a very tight attack, and it doesn't always work, but if you get to use it, it would be super cool and super fun. We also have, basically a potential as well. We only are able to pull it off potentially for every game. We may not be able to use this at all, but we can still use it for Shrieking Poison, doing 90 damage for 3 energies, and also confusing and poisoning their active, which is basically an attack of its own. You actually get to confuse and poison. If you get to use Shrieking Poison, you can even force them to retreat on the next turn, allowing you to use Pursuit Blast at the same time while attacking twice with a single Skuntank. We also have our Weezing as well to basically counter 1 price decks, just in case they play I get paired against Charizard a lot of times and lost a lot of times. So eventually, once I played this Galarian Weezing, I never got paired against Charizard, which is quite frustrating because I kind of want to win against Charizard once. But if you play Weezing against any 1 price decks that play abilities like Bibarel or Duran with Chinchinos, they can't actually draw cards at all, and then they get stuck. And if they get stuck, you get to collect prize cards with your Poison, using Sneasler to add damage counters as well. You can actually kill a Duran with double, in 2 Pokemon checkups, you can actually knock out a Duran, and that means every single turn you get one prize with your poison, with your severe poison. We also have our Bibarel to draw for the draw support. We have 3 copies of Bidoof just in case we don't get our balls. To bench it fast, we actually get to bench it from our hand directly. We have 4 copies of Quick Ball, 4 VIP Pass, and 2 Ultra Balls to get our basic Pokemons, 1 Capture as well, with 3 Incense to get our evolutions, and 2 Energy Switch. Sorry, only 1 Energy Switch now. We have 1 Energy Switch, 1 Dark Patch, and 1 Double Turbo with 1 Furisode Girl. So Furisode Girl is going to help us do a surprise Pursuit Blast at the last second right after doing the poison. And, you know, if they don't realize that we're playing a Skuntank, we can actually play as Furisode Girl. If we have a Skuntank as our first active, I'm sorry about that, but they are probably going to switch their Pokemon and not retreat. If they don't realize that we're playing a Skuntank, if we have the element of surprise on our side, we can actually, you know, use it to our advantage. We can pull off an ambush with our Furisode Girl, putting our Skuntank from searching our deck for a Skuntank and putting it directly onto our bench, switching it into the active, and then play a Energy Switch or Double Turbo to attack within the single turn, on the same turn using Pursuit Blast for 120 damage on the bench. We also have 1 Galarian Moltres to help us collect extra energies from the discard pile, and also do a 1-hit knockout against Mew VMAX. We can actually do 1 VMAX knockout with Galarian Moltres, and another with a Slowking, you know, a boss Slowking as well, just because after the poison the active, they're probably going to retreat, and Skuntank is actually not enough to kill a Mew VMAX after they retreat. You know, even if we have like 20 damage counters on them, just because again pull off an Oricorio quite easily, and 100 damage is not enough. Even if, you know, we may sometimes attach Double Turbo on Skuntank as well, doing less damage with that Pokemon, so it's not always perfect. But if you play against a V-Star deck, Skuntank is going to work perfectly fine, just because they have not that much HP anyways. So if they don't tank, if they play you know, Hisuian Gudra as well, because we have Galarian Slowking, we can actually knock them out with effects of attacks. We don't have to be bothered about damage reduction, just because we are using effects of attacks to basically not only poisoning them with our Max Toxify, but also knocking them out with Word of Ruin. So we are basically able to knock them out at the end of their next turn if we use our basic to attack. And if they don't, even if they switch to retreat to the bench, we can actually pull off a Pursuit Blast early in the game, before they are able to evolve their Pokemon. If they evolve though, they can actually remove the effect as well. So important to know that if they evolve, they can remove the poison effect. But if they evolve to remove the poison, you can do it a second time to knock them out. And then, maybe pull off another Slowking VMAX, use a second VMAX to poison the second V-Star, retreat, and do Pursuit Blast for your next hit, and then collect the final prize with the boss, something like that. So it's not a perfect deck, but it's a super fun deck to play, and it's very, very interesting if you get to pull off Pursuit Blast using the new attack that actually no other card has. We also have 1 Spikemuth to place extra damage controls in their Pokemon if they retreat to the bench, 1 Temple of Sinnoh to shut down special energies and their effects, and also 1 Path to the Peak to block off Rulebox abilities, slowing down our opponent by blocking them from using Radiant Greninja or Radiant Venusaur to draw cards, or even Crobat V and Lumineon. And that gives us some time to get our system running to play our first Max Toxify early, since they could be playing a Crushing Hammer to block us from attacking fast. We are playing a 2 energy attacker, and if they do Crushing Hammer, we have to attach that energy from our hand one by one again, since we want to be saving our Dark Patch, Moltres, and Energy Switch for our Skuntank. We can't actually use them for our Slowking VMAX to attack fast. We want to be attaching one by one from our hand to satisfy the 2 energy attack cost to play Max Toxify early. And if they slow us down with Crushing Hammer, we have our Counter Stall, Path to the Peak to block them from using Radiant Greninja to draw cards, to block them from using Lumineon to search for any supporter cards from their deck, which is a big deal, especially against Radiant Greninja and Radiant Venusaur. So that's all for the deck list. Now let's go for some gameplay and see how well this deck works. Okay, let's go for our first game versus Lugia V-Star. And we're gonna play Max Toxify as early as we can. Unfortunately, we didn't get energy on our first turn though, but we're just gonna make do. We're playing Snorlax instead of 3 Bidoof in this deck. We have 2 Bidoof and 1 Snorlax, just to help us draw early game. Snorlax doesn't always work though, just because if you don't get it early, you're gonna have to waste that 1 turn not attacking, which is not good, just because we're not doing a 1-hit knockout for this deck. If you're not doing a 1-hit knockout, I don't think you get to play Snorlax, because you're wasting 1 entire turn, giving your opponent green light to basically do a boss and knock out any V Pokemons on the bench. If they even damage your Slowking, we have no way of recovering HP. We have no way of healing our Pokemon. We are not playing Cheryl in this deck. But we do have one V-Guard though. If we play a V-Guard on our Slowking V, we can actually reduce damage by 30. Done by their V Pokemons. If they play V-Stars, we can reduce, possibly prevent a 2-hit knockout even with our V-Guard. But we're only playing one copy. Remember to, think about that. You're only playing one copy, so don't rely on it too much. It may not show at the right time. We have also our single strike energy to boost damage, helping us do up to 180 damage is possibly quite easy to pull off. If you have like one Choice Belt and a Radiant Sneasler on the bench, you can already do 180 damage on your active. So 40 damage from the attack and 14 damage counter from the poison. Without the single strike energy, you can actually knock out the Lumineon. And that's actually what we pulled off for this game. We're gonna do a Choice Belt on the next turn. So we got pretty lucky because they got stuck with nothing but Lumineon in the active on their first turn. And they actually only just benched the Lugia. So they benched the Lugia late, which is kind of a big plus for us. We got a really bad start though. I don't think it would be that easy for us to get no energies because we have 11 copy of energy. We got 6 special energy as well. We got 1 capture, 1 V-Guard, 1 single strike energy, 1 hiding, and 1 double turbo. I think we got 5. We got 5 special energies and 6 basic darkness. So I don't think it would be that difficult for us to get energies for this deck against any matchups. We just got pretty unlucky for this game. I don't know why. And we still did not get energies. Oh my god. We're gonna play Bibarel right now. We're gonna bench everything. We're forced to bench everything because we want to be drawing out the energy with Bibarel. That's our only way to survive this game. So they played a collapsed stadium, and that means we can't bench another Pokemon until we get our Spikemuth. And for this game, we're not actually playing Temple of Sinnoh or Path to the Peak. We have only one stadium card, which is Spikemuth. And that's actually pretty bad because the Moltres can't use his ability if they play Path to the Peak. And if we only have one stadium, we can't actually remove Path to the Peak from play. Temple of Sinnoh is going to help us do that. But we only have Moltres though. Like, nothing else in this deck plays Rulebox abilities. So I think we should be good against Path. And now we're going to do research for, hopefully, we're going to draw with Bibarel first. And then draw do a research to get our switch or escape rope. I think we even have a scoop up net for this game. We have a scoop up net to replace for the Bird Keeper. Eventually, I decided to add 2 Bird Keepers and just scrap the Snorlax for another Bidoof. 2 Bird Keepers is actually much better because we actually get to draw cards with that as well. And I don't think we have enough supporters if we play, an extra switch card. So instead of Weezing, we played Lost City for this deck. For this game, we have Lost City to counter 1 prize, and it doesn't really work that well because we only are playing 1 copy of the Lost City. Eventually, I decided, you know what, it's better just to have a Weezing because Weezing is locking abilities, which is helping us not only against 1 prize deck, but against V-Star decks as well. Against any deck, they're gonna be, they're gonna be stuck not being able to use Crobat, not being able to use Radiant Greninja. They can't use any abilities, which is gonna mean a lot. It's gonna, is gonna slow them down by a huge amount. It's gonna give us so much time to get our system running. It's gonna give us, the surprise element with Skuntank as well. We can actually pull it off by slowly drawing out our Energy Switch at the right time. And Furisode Girl, they may play a Marnie though at the right time, but it's gonna be a lot more difficult if they don't get to draw with their, if they don't get to search as well with their shady dealings. It's gonna be a lot more difficult to survive a Weezing. Even if we are even if we do have only 1 copy, it's gonna mean a lot. It counts. It does count in any deck, even if you are playing 1 copy. So do not underestimate Weezing. It's not that easy to prize it. I don't know why, but if you're playing 1 copy of your Stage 1 Pokemon, you're most likely to get it inside the deck instead of in the prize card for most games. I don't know why, but in Standard, they kind of give you the luxury to play one copy now. Because it's that tight, like the game is so tight now. We have Mew VMAX, Lugia V-Star, we have like crazy decks in the format right now. Palkia with Kyurem, we have Regieleki with Vigavolt item lock. I don't think, you know, it's that easy to counter meta decks. And against that, they're actually giving us, better luck and a bit of a smoother play if you're playing a bit of a quirky deck list. If you have only one copy, they would actually give you inside the deck. They wouldn't screw you up like that. So right now we're gonna do our first Poison Max Toxify. If they evolve the active though, we can just do a second hit. A second Max Toxify to kill off the active. They may be able to knock us out though on the next turn. If they do... if they have 4 powerful energy, they can actually kill the Slowking with one hit. So we have no V-Guard for this game. We have an extra hiding just to help us retreat onto Skuntank much easier. So retreating into Skuntank, if you don't play Furisode Girl, you can actually bench it with a quick ball and then retreat with your hiding in the active, do an energy switch, attach 1 energy from your hand onto Skuntank. If you don't want to do double turbo, if you don't have the double turbo, you actually have to do the energy switch. After retreating with your hiding, you actually get to play Pursuit Blast for a surprise 120 damage, right after your opponent retreat on the last turn. You actually have to wait for them to retreat their Pokemon. If they switch their Pokemon, it doesn't work. So that's a very, very important thing to know. They have to retreat. And that's making the card a lot more difficult to play, a lot less competitive, just because, retreating isn't really that big a deal. It's not really the big thing right now for decks to retreat. Most decks play enough switch cards to counter, special conditions, to counter effects of attacks, to counter even Galar Mine. They can't actually retreat, and that's why they place enough switch cards in their deck. If they play Tower of Waters though, it's gonna help us do Skuntank onto their Rapid Strike Pokemon. So Tower of Water is going to help us target possibly Zeraora on the bench, or even Sobble on the bench to kill it off before they do shady dealings. But I don't think we want to be knocking out a 1 prize card on the bench if we're playing Skuntank, just because we are only drawing 1 prize with Pursuit Blast, and then on the next turn they can quite easily kill your Skuntank with 1 hit. Drawing 2 prize, which is not a good deal. So that's why that attack is kind of terrible right now. I would say Pursuit Blast doesn't really cut it for them against meta decks, unless if they're playing Lugia. I mean, Lugia is quite easy to counter sometimes if you know if you know just the right cards to play at the right time. If you know how to play against Lugia, you're gonna win quite easily. I don't think Lugia is really that powerful. I would say Palkia is still like the best right now. Palkia, Kyurem is just impossible. It's way too fast. It can do a 1-hit knockout, twice in a row. They can even do Melanie and a second Glaciated World a second time to do a second knockout against a V-Star, which is just insanity. They can do Choice Belt for 300 damage. I mean, how broken is that? Okay, Tempest Dive, and they did double turbo on the active, and they actually did a boss. Okay, they did a boss, but we got the switch though. We got the switch, and they retreated to the bench, so we're gonna make full use. We're gonna make use of the opportunity and just target a bench right now. They didn't actually evolve the active though. If they evolved the active, they could have avoided the poison. They could have recovered from the poison, but I guess they want to be denying us the prize. I don't think they realize that Skuntank can actually hit the bench. I don't think they know what Skuntank is gonna do. I don't think they're aware of our plan, because we actually benched it though. Like, we gave them the hint that we're gonna do Pursuit Blast to knock out the bench if they retreat. So they're actually giving us on a silver platter the Lugia for the knockout. Even if they evolve, it would be the same. We would be drawing the same prize anyway, so we should be doing Pursuit Blast on this turn. It doesn't matter if they evolve, we would be doing a knockout anyways. So sadly, they only have 4 damage counters on the Lugia. 30 damage wouldn't be enough though. So if we do Pursuit Blast for 30 damage, if they didn't retreat, if they switch to the bench, 30 would not be enough to knock it out, so 120 I suppose is the necessary amount for us to draw 2 prize. Doesn't matter, we're doing way more damage than necessary. 320. Sorry, is it 320? Because we did 180 damage on the last turn. So it is actually 300 damage. If we had a single strike energy, we would be doing 200 damage. So we kind of need a lot for Slowking to do enough damage against a VMAX. I feel like against VMAX though, we need to play Serena or Boss to kill off the VMAX on the bench. And then play possibly our Moltres with another Slowking, or Moltres with Shrieking Poison to collect the final knockout. I would prefer to play a second Slowking, just because Skuntank doesn't actually do enough damage for to finish off the VMAX after playing our Fiery Wrath. My bad. What's it called again? Fiery Wrath is the 1 prize Moltres. Aura Burn, right. Aura Burn for 190 damage. We even can play our Choice Belt with Moltres as well. So I wanted to do Jinx for this deck. I wanted to play Jinx just in case they're playing fighting decks as well. Against fighting decks, they can actually knock out our Slowking with 1 hit because it is a poison type, and they can still kill our Skuntank as well with 1 hit. So I don't think we match well against Urshifu if they're playing Choice Belt. Rapid Strike Urshifu with Choice Belt can easily knock us out with 1 energy. If they do that, I don't think Jinx would be much help either, because even if it's hitting the weakness, we actually need a couple of damage counters on their active. If we don't poison them first, Jinx is not going to do anything. And if we already poison them, I don't think the weakness would actually do much. I don't think weakness would help, because we are already knocking them out anyways. Even without the weakness, we would be doing the knockout, because we are placing so much damage counter with the poison. You never know if they heal their Pokemon though, how much they're going to heal their Pokemon. If they play V-Guard as well, we're not going to do as much damage, obviously. We would actually be forced to rely on 14 damage counter poison to knock them out. If they don't retreat to the bench, if they do retreat, we got our Skuntank. You know, Rapid Strike decks play Tower of Water, so we actually can rely on Skuntank to do that surprise hit. If they play Manaphy though, Skuntank is not going to work, so Skuntank has a lot of counters. If they play Switch, if they play Manaphy, Skuntank is not going to work at all. That's why it's not really a good card right now. It's not a good card in Standard. It doesn't really help out much, unless if you can do a surprise hit. If you can actually play Furisode Girl for Skuntank, that would be ideal, because that actually gives you an ambush. Yeah, doing an ambush, and that actually helps you a lot, because your opponent won't be expecting a Skuntank. They wouldn't be expecting it. They would be playing Air Balloon for the retreat. They could be doing Tower of Waters or anything like that, and that means they can't actually avoid the Pursuit Blast. So it's always better to bench it late, but sometimes we don't have a choice. If we want to be drawing enough cards with Bibarel, as you saw earlier, we got no energies, and we are forced to bench the Skuntank early just to get our energy, and they just conceded because we got our Choice Belt. We got 220 damage with Aura Burn, knocking out the final V card for the final 2 prize, winning the game against Lugia V-Star. And now we're up against 𝑑𝑻𝑪𝑮𝒏, I think. Reggie deck, not Regieleki, but a Reggie box. 1 prize Reggie box. Weezing is going to help us a lot here. So we're just going to put Snorlax in the active, and then keep Skuntank in our hand. We got VIP on our first turn, which is great. We're just going to play VIP for our Bidoof and Slowking. We got Bird Keeper and Switch. We should be doing research, because apparently we didn't get our energies again, which is not ideal. I guess if they're playing special energies, we got the energy though. Okay, if they're playing a lot more special energy than you are, chances are they would get it much easier. They would be able to draw their energy into their first hand a lot easier than you are. And if they are playing Lugia V-Star, that means they have a lot of special energies. They probably have nothing but special energies in their deck. You know, same goes for Reggie. Regigigas plays nothing but special energies. You know, Capture, Aurora, Speed Energy especially, and also Powerful, Twin, possibly even a double turbo. They got Gift Energy as well. Gift Energy for the, you know, for the draw support, which is actually the best card to be playing with your Reggie box. Gift Energy is like the secret ingredient. They got Reggie Lucky and they got the Speed Energy, which is pretty annoying. If you play Temple of Sinnoh though against Reggie, it's gonna lock them for a few turns. It's gonna get them stuck for 1 or 2 turns at least, unless if they get their stadium card. My bad, if they get their stadium, because Temple of Sinnoh actually locks them from using their special energies, and that means they can't play Aurora, they can't play Speed Energy, they can't play Powerful as well, or even Twin Energy on the Regigigas. So they need to play a lot of Path to the Peaks on their deck just because they need to counter Duraludon. Against Duraludon, they can't actually do any damage at all. If your opponent plays a VMAX though, and if they have a Path to the Peak in play, they're gonna do a knockout. They can't even do a one-hit knockout on Duraludon if they do Choice Belt on the Regigigas, because they're doing 300 damage against any VMAX. So we're gonna switch right now. We're gonna do a Bird Keeper and then Severe Poison to lock them with our Weezing in the active. And that means they can't use Regidrago to draw cards. They can't use Regigigas to get energies. And all we need is to wait for this Ilaki to, you know, to get knocked out. And then slowly get our Hisuian Sneasler into our hand. We need to somehow bench the Sneasler fast. And we got the capture though, but we didn't do it just because we got overexcited. But if we get the Sneasler right now, they would probably retreat on the same turn, either retreat or switch. But if we do capture on the next turn, we can actually do a surprise knockout. Since we're not doing a knockout anyways, even with the Sneasler on our bench early. If we bench the Sneasler on the last turn, they would still be alive after the second Pokemon checkup. So we would still need 3 Pokemon checkups to knock them out. Without the Sneasler though, we need 4 Pokemon checkups, right? So we have to bench it right now. Like, now is the only time we can knock them out with 3 Pokemon checkups. So they benched the second Regidrago because they were expecting us to kill the first one. But they wasn't expecting us to kill it that early though. They got the Twin Energy anyways, which is pretty annoying. They got the Twin and they get to do 50 damage. Only 30, my bad. 30 damage on our active. Which isn't enough. Because Dragon Energy requires 3 colored energies. And without the color energies, they can't actually do enough damage to kill the Weezing. They need so many turns to kill off the Weezing. And we're just going to retreat right here because they have no Regidrago. I don't think they can draw that easily with 1 card in their hand. So we're just going to attack with Moltres and buy ourselves 1 turn. Deny them from, you know, killing our Weezing. Because Weezing can't actually knock out the Regidrago. And they can slowly knock us out with their first attack. Doing 30 damage at a time. And then possibly knock us out with Ilaki. Ilaki can still do 20 damage though. 20 damage with the first attack, so they're trying to slowly knock us out, I suppose, because we only have, we can only play 6 damage counters at a time on their active Pokemon with our poison effect, and that's actually giving them enough time to kill our Weezing. So I think that would be the best move. To attack with our Moltres is actually better than to attack with our Weezing on that turn. Okay, right now we're up against another Lugia, if I'm not mistaken. Another Lugia. Oh, no, I think it's a Pikachu. It's a Surfing Pikachu with Inteleon. So, they are hitting our bench with Telescopic Sight. So we should be watching out for the bench snipe. We should be getting our Manaphy at some point. while also thinking about our main strategy. We need to be charging up our Slowking, and since we didn't get it on our first turn, we're just gonna charge up our Skuntank, because you can do a Energy Switch on the next turn as well, or Dark Patch on the Slowking. So sorry about the cutoff. We actually had to switch our headphones, and while we were switching the headphones, the scene just got cut. So what they did on the last turn is that they just played, they attached the energy on the Pikachu, and then they just played the Stadium card, and then they passed the turn, and then we drew a VIP pass from the top deck, and then that's it. That's all that you missed. That was the only thing that got cut. So don't worry too much about the cutoff. We just benched it this turn, so we can't actually evolve and poison them with our Weezing, but we can actually Ascension. We can do Ascension to lock them from using shady dealings to get their Melanie, or even to get their Incense to evolve into the Surfing Pikachu. And without the Shady, without Drizzile, I don't think it's that easy for them to pull off the VMAX attack on this turn, because they need to evolve and play a Melanie. There we go. We at least bought ourselves one turn to attach that one energy onto our Slowking, and we can even play Severe Poison on the Pikachu, which isn't really doing much though, honestly, because we can only place up to 6 damage counters on it. 6 damage counters is not quite enough. If they evolve, they're going to remove the special condition, and then, Slowking is not actually enough to kill it. We still need 2 strikes with our Max Toxify, so it doesn't really do much. Weezing is basically just stalling without actually giving us enough damage in the game, unfortunately. Oh well. So 4 damage counters. We didn't even get our Sneasler. We got the Quick Ball, but we didn't have the foresight to get our Sneasler. We forgot. So I forgot that Weezing is also getting the damage boost from the poison. Normally I would just play Max Toxify with Sneasler, but I forgot to play Sneasler for our Weezing. So they did Rare Candy for the Quick Shoot Inteleon, but they still can't use the ability because we have our Weezing in play. So they need to knock out our Weezing first before they're able to play Quick Shoot to kill off our Manaphy, I suppose. Okay, here comes the VMAX. Are they gonna get the VMAX? Let's hope not. Probably. I mean, they have that many incenses. If they get their level ball instead of incense though, they can't actually play. There we go. They got poison. Okay. They actually did not recover from the poison. They didn't evolve. And that means we got a free knockout this turn. We got a free knockout with our Slowking, and they have no benched Pikachu. That's a big deal. They got no bench Pokemon on the next turn to evolve. They got no energies, even if they do, on the bench Pokemon. And they didn't even play a Melanie. They kind of have to play a Melanie on this turn, on the last turn, and bench a Pikachu at the same time and attach that energy if they want to attack, immediately after, the knockout. But I feel like they should be evolving though. I don't think it's that difficult to evolve a VMAX if you play enough copies in your deck. I suppose they're playing way more Inteleon and Drizzile than the VMAX, which isn't a good thing. You should be thinking about evolving fast to attack fast with your VMAX. So they weren't prepared for the ability lock. They weren't really prepared for the shady dealings. If they get level ball, they can quite easily get the incense. So I suppose they would be playing way more level balls than incense in their deck, since they can quite easily search for the VMAX evolution with the shady. So don't rely too much on your Drizzile Inteleon. It doesn't always work. Here comes the Quick Shoot, and they're gonna do it on our Manaphy to kill it off bit by bit, so that they get to place damage counters on our bench. So they get to hit our bench with their what's it called again? 𝑻𝒆𝒐? 𝑚ax or something? I forgot the attack. So Surfing Pikachu is doing 160 damage to the active, and then 30 damage to each of your opponent's bench Pokemon, which isn't really enough, honestly, unless if they're playing, Crabominable or something like that to collect the knockout. You kind of need a lot of energies though to pull off both Pikachu and Crabominable. So they both need 3 energies to satisfy the attack costs. But it is a good combo though. Pikachu with Crabominable, you can do Surf, and then, you know, one-hit knockout with your Crabominable on the next turn over and over. But if they play a 1 price, it wouldn't really do much unless if you have enough of the VMAX. Because 1 price normally have low HP. I would play... Okay, I wouldn't be giving off my ideas now. Because I suppose that's the reason they are playing Inteleon. You know, Inteleon's gonna give them... is gonna help them against 1 price decks. So 1 price decks have low HP, and that means 30 damage is actually a lot. And eventually they would be able to accumulate up to 90 damage on all of their bench, all of their opponent's bench, to place 2 damage counter with their quick shoot for the knockout. So 30 damage is actually a lot against 1 price. We got our 3rd knockout. My bad, our 2nd knockout, but our 3rd prize with our Slowking. And now they're gonna play Suicune. Blizzard Rondo. They did Melanie on the Pikachu though. That was pretty weird. Okay, I suppose they're gonna do a switch right now. They have to switch, right? If they don't switch, they're kind of done for. They got the Telescopic Sight, they got the Quick Shoot Inteleon. Are they gonna get the VMAX? Are they gonna get the switch? I guess they got tough luck. They didn't get their Melanie that early. No Melanie means no VMAX. Right, the VMAX can't attack. They got enough energies though, but they can't switch. They don't even have the VMAX, which is pretty sad. We're gonna do a boss right now. We actually have enough to knock out the Pikachu because we got a Choice Belt and a single strike energy. We even have Sneasler on the bench, and that means we can do a maximum of 20 damage counters against the V card on the bench, and we are actually killing off the Pikachu with full energies, and that means they need to play Melanie on the Suicune on the next turn. So we actually killed off the Pikachu, which is a big surprise, considering we only are playing 1 copy of the single strike energy and we got it. Only 1 single strike energy and 1 Sneasler in this deck, which is exactly enough. 14 damage counter plus 60 damage to kill off the Pikachu, and now we just need 1 last prize. The final prize is going to be a bit more difficult though, but they have 5 prizes remaining. I think we won this game. They just conceded, so we won against Pikachu. It's a bit sad that they didn't evolve and they couldn't even attack once, but I guess that's the name of this game. It's all about luck. It's a huge gamble. That's why I don't like this game. You know, I kind of want to transition into Pokemon Unite. I really want to make this channel I don't really want to abandon completely TCG, but I really want to introduce new content into this channel. I want to introduce Pokemon Unite and you know, show off some gameplays and show off some builds, because I have some interesting builds as well. And I really want to play more of that game, honestly, because this game is really down to luck. Most of it is down to luck. If you don't get the right cards at the right time, you're not able to win. It's just impossible. Like, if you just get a terrible start, there's no point continuing. You might as well just concede, because there's no way you can get out. There's no way you can get out of a terrible hand. You can always add cards like Crobat or Lumineon. You can always add enough supporters in your deck, but sometimes you don't have the space for that. If you want a interesting combo to work, if you want to pull off a very unique combo, if you want to, you know, tailor the deck to focus on that particular, you know, strategy, if you want to make that strategy work, you don't really have the space to add that many consistency cards. And if you don't add that many consistency cards, you may get a terrible hand. If you get really bad luck over and over, it kind of really destroys it destroys your mood. It destroys your motivation to build decks because you don't really have the luxury to experiment. You don't have the luxury to play quirky decks. You don't have the luxury to explore, right? Which is the main the main selling point for this game, I would say, is that you get to play different cards. You get to play cards that normally people wouldn't play in the meta format, in the standard format, and make it as strong as the meta. That's the main point. The whole point of playing this game is to break it, right? To break the game by playing cards that people don't play, that people do not acknowledge. Cards that are not supposed to shine. To make it work would be a big accomplishment, right? So I kind of really want to go for that. I want to head for that direction. And even if I don't succeed in those decks, at least I tried, right? At least I tried. It's really difficult though. Like, it's getting way more difficult to build a successful rogue deck these days because the meta format is just crazy right now. They got Meloetta to donk on the first turn, going second. They got Lugia V-Star. It's just insane. Lugia V-Star is still okay, but I mean, Palkia, I really hate Palkia. Palkia is way too insane, is way too crazy. And we got all the one prize, Lunatone Solrock is still in the game, is still pretty mad powerful. We have also, what's it called again? Regibox, Clefairy, Widear, all of those crazy one prize threats. And let's just focus on the game. Let's just not get too depressed. This game is just very stressful sometimes, and I have to vent. If you don't vent, sometimes you're just gonna lose it. Okay, we got our first Max Toxify, and we're just gonna kill off the Dunsparce for our first prize. So drawing only one prize card can still mean a lot, especially if you're drawing your first prize. If you got the first prize before your opponent, you still kind of have the advantage, even if they are doing a VMAX knockout after the next 2 turns, because they got their first right. If they get a Choice Belt, they can actually possibly knock us out this turn, but they just attached the double turbo though, so they kind of screwed themselves over. Having the double turbo means they can't actually do a VMAX knockout. So for powerful energy with the Choice Belt equal 80 plus 100, 80 plus 30 equals 110 damage boost, and 110 plus 220 is actually enough to kill us off, obviously, because, well, even with the double turbo, I'm pretty sure they have enough though. Well, they need 10 more damage, right? If they have 4 powerful with 1 double turbo, they kind of need 10 more damage to knock out the VMAX. So 220 base damage plus 80 from the powerful, and plus another 30, that's 330 damage, right? If I'm not mistaken. Okay, we're gonna do Ultra Ball to get... I think we already have the Sneasler. Should we get the Koffing? I'm not sure if we should get the Koffing. Let's just play the Koffing, because that actually means we get to evolve and draw more cards on the next turn. If we bench something else though, we can't actually empty our hand that easily, because we would have eventually a Koffing and Weezing stuck in our hand. If we have those two stuck in our hand without a quick ball, without any way of emptying our hand or drawing cards with a supporter, we would not be able to do anything. We would get stuck with a dead hand. So right now they would be forced, they're kind of forced to retreat or switch to the bench. If they switch though, we're gonna need a boss. So I kind of recommend swapping any one card in this deck for another Serena, because decks play a lot of switch cards right now. It's quite easy for them to pull off a switch, and if they switch to the bench or evolve their Pokemon, they can avoid Pursuit Blast. They can recover from the special condition and also avoid avoid you from collecting prizes with your Skuntank. Okay, Yveltal is gonna come, and thank God we did not bench a second Slowking. If we bench a second Slowking, they can quite easily use the effect. They can use Amazing Destruction to collect the another 3 prize to win the game, because they have 3, you know, after this knockout they actually have 3 remaining prizes. So Amazing Destruction is gonna win them the game if we have a second VMAX. So we can't actually afford to play another Slowking, and that's probably the reason why we benched the Koffing. We kind of need to rely on Moltres now. Moltres is our ticket to success, to victory, and we have to rely on Dire Flame Wings and also Aura Burn to knock out the Lugia on the bench for the final 2 prize after poisoning with severe poison. Hopefully Weezing is gonna help us. Hopefully he's gonna give us a few extra turns, because they actually haven't done Summoning Star. They have not played Summoning Star yet, which is a big surprise, because by now you would think they would be able to have, you know, Archeops in the discard pile already, but Archeops is still inside their deck. They got pretty unlucky, I guess. No Professor Burnett, no Incense, no Ultra Ball, no way of discarding the Archeops, and that means they haven't played the V-Star ability yet. So we got Weezing to lock them from using not just Summoning Star, but also Archeops' ability. So even if they have Archeops in play, they still can't use the ability to charge up their Yveltal on this turn. If they charge it up on the last turn though, if they have already charged it up on the last turn, then Weezing would not be able to lock them from doing anything. So luckily, we got pretty lucky for this game. Fortunately, we actually get to play Severe Poison to knock out the active right now. They don't really have enough energy to retreat. If they want to attach the energy for the retreat, they kind of have to do Escape Rope to play Summoning Star. Because if they don't play enough energies, if they don't attach enough energy, they can't attack with Lugia. They got Radiant Charizard, but you know, the ability is locked as well. That means they can't actually play Combustion Blast with the Double Turbo and Magma Basin. I don't think they have Magma Basin though for a Lugia V-Star deck. Okay, they need to do a boss. They need to do a boss. We played a Marnie though on the last turn. So I think for this game, for this deck list, we have 2 Marnies. Eventually we decided to swap we decided to swap out the Marnie for a Bird Keeper, because we kind of need enough switch cards in this deck. We don't have enough switches. Because Hiding Energy doesn't work for Bibarel. If we get stuck with Bidoof early in the game, it would be pretty bad. So we kind of need at least 4 switch cards if we are playing a non-darkness energy support, draw support. And finally, they got 1 discarded Archeops. Let's hope we get to kill the... Okay, Crobat has no ability. Let's hope we get to kill the Yveltal this turn for 1 prize, and then all we need to do is Dire Flame Wings for the win, right? We can actually kill off the Lugia. They probably wouldn't be putting it into the active though, because they know we have a Choice Belt on the Moltres, and Moltres can quite easily knock out the Lugia if they put it into the active. Because all we need is a switch. So we're gonna play Misfortune Sister right now, because apparently they have a dead hand. They have nothing in their hand. They can't play abilities. They can't play Crobat. So we should be doing a Misfortune Sister to discard their Incense or something. There we go. We discarded the Incense. And that means it's a bit more difficult for them to evolve the Lugia, which is a big plus, because we should be able to win the game if we can use Moltres for the final 2 prize. As long as they don't evolve the Lugia, I think we're good, right? Because Moltres, or if they get their Lost Sweep though, if they get their Lost Vacuum, they're gonna be able to deny us the knockout. So we kind of need more than Aura Burn to kill off the Lugia, unfortunately. Okay, they didn't get anything. We still need 1 extra turn though. So we got the V-Guard. We're just gonna pass the turn because they're already poisoned. We just need the Hiding. Are they gonna evolve this turn? Probably. I mean, it's way too late in the game. They should be evolving by now. Still no evolution. Look at that. Finally discarding the second copy of Archeops. Way too late. We're gonna pull off a Marnie right now. Because we want to be doing... Oh my goodness. We want to be doing a switch. There we go. We want to be knocking out the Lugia with our Moltres, because that's probably the best way to win the game. We actually attached the energy to Skuntank though. If we attached the double turbo, we could have done the retreat this turn and win the game, but we didn't. Oh well. I think we won though, even if they get the V-Star, because 6 damage counter is enough. 6 damage counter, but plus 220 damage is enough to kill the V-Star. If they do a boss though on the Moltres, they may be able to knock us out before we're able to do play that attack. So we should not have attached the energy onto Skuntank, because if they do a boss and evolve the V-Star, they can quite easily knock out the Moltres, right? They got 220 damage with the powerful and the double turbo. They just need one powerful energy or a choice belt, and they got the Moltres knockout. So we should have been a bit more careful for that game. I mean, we shouldn't be attaching the energy onto the Skuntank, because we could either draw the double turbo or the hiding for us to retreat with our Weezing onto the Moltres, and we could have won on that turn already. So make sure you think twice or even 3 times through before you make any decision. Every single tiny decision matters. For this game, it is just crazy. If you pass even one turn not doing anything, not even, you know, drawing enough cards or not attacking, if you don't even draw an extra card, you're done for. If you can draw an extra card and you didn't, you would be, you know, that could actually cost you the entire game. That's how tight this game is. You can't afford to waste anything. And that's why I don't quite like this game, honestly, because it's way too unbalanced. It's so focused on the meta decks. The meta decks have way too much advantage. Like, come on. They have way too much advantage. It's not fair at all. If you think about it, they have so many balls. They have so many ways to set up. They have way too many abilities that support them. They got Shady Dealings for Palkia. They got Burnett for Archeops. They got way too many consistency cards to make the deck work. It's like perfect, you know? There's no way around it. It's so difficult to counter one-price decks, to counter meta decks. You know, especially one-price decks right now, even Charizard right now, they got Radiant Greninja for the draw support, and they got Boost Shake to evolve fast. They even have, what's it called again? Bibarel as well. They even have new cards that can, you know, Magma Basin to help them charge up their Pokemon. So it's really crazy right now. It's just insane. Zoroark decks is getting worse and worse. Like, there's more and more stage 1 Pokemons that's gonna make Zoroark a lot more broken. We have Braixen for Zoroark deck now. We have, what's it called again? Raichu against, Raichu is actually perfect against Palkia. But Raichu actually works against any water decks that you want to be building as well. Raichu kills off water deck, but you kind of have to rely on the V-Star though. If your opponent hasn't played a V-Star power, if your opponent plays a one-price water deck, Raichu doesn't really cut it, because Raichu is only doing extra damage if your opponent has played a V-Star power. If they haven't played their V-Star power, you're only doing 20 damage if I'm not mistaken. Only 20 damage or 30, maybe 40, I'm not too sure. But you just need one energy though, one colorless, and that's actually perfect for Zoroark. Which is very annoying. Zoroark decks are way too consistent. Way too consistent. They have Jirachi now. Radiant Jirachi to even add an extra search support. Even if you don't get to do a free knockout, even if you don't get the free knockout early with your Doom's Desire, you can still play. I'm not sure if it's... I'm not too sure about the name of the attack, but I'm pretty sure it's called that. If you don't get the knockout, you still get to use your wish ability to get 3 cards from the deck to set up for your next turn. And you get to search at the end of your opponent's turn though. At the end of your opponent's turn, you get to search any 3 cards, and that means you get to use those cards on your turn right after searching for them. If they play Path to the Peak though, Jirachi has no ability, and that means they can't do a knockout by forcing you not to search your deck. You can't actually search your deck after they kill off your Jirachi. So right now we're up against a Miltank, and we can actually kill off a Miltank quite easily with effects of attacks. We can either use our Slowking V, Word of Ruin to knock it out with effect, to knock it out at the end of their next turn, or to poison them to death. Poison is another option. We can kill off the Miltank, and that means we don't need to play Canceling Cologne. We don't need to, add 1 prize cards to deal with Miltank or Decidueye Altaria. We don't need those counters. So that's the good thing about playing a poison deck. If they play Wash Energy or Aromatic Energy, you can't actually poison their active though. Or if they have what's it called again? If they have Virizion, I don't think any decks play Virizion though. Virizion V guards all of your Pokemon with Grass Energy attached from special conditions, and that means you can quite easily deny Slowking from doing the poison effect. If they play Impact Energy as well, you can't poison their active. So there are a lot of counters against Slowking, but not, you don't see those cards in Standard right now. You don't see those cards in meta decks, and that's why Slowking is still pretty competitive, I would say. Unless if they play enough switch cards. If they switch enough times, I don't think Slowking really cuts it, because you kind of need more Serenas to pull off a knockout against V-Star decks. And even if you're doing a 2-hit knockout against V-Star, they can quite easily kill you on the next turn to draw 3 prizes. And if they are drawing 3 prizes for 2-hit knockout, while you're drawing only 2 prizes for 2-hit knockout as well, that's not a good deal, right? Both players are doing a 2-hit knockout strategy, and you're only drawing 2 prizes. That's just not fair. Like, it's not good. It's not an even match, and that means you're gonna lose the game. So it's better to rely on Moltres at some point in the game. You kind of have to play only 1 VMAX and then rely on Moltres to finish off, V cards on the bench, to do a boss arena, to kill off Crobats or Luminions. You kind of have to target those cards to win the game. You have to be really smart though, because Slowking is quite terrible if you get unlucky. If you get lucky, you may be able to get a free knockout, if they can't retreat or switch. If they retreat, we got our Skuntank. So it's not too bad, I don't think. Slightly above average, but not by much. Not by much. Okay. We got Word of Ruin, forcing them to retreat with the Ice Rider. So they're playing a very different list. I don't think this is a competitive player. It's just a fun deck that they're playing. They're playing Wobbuffet with Ice Rider to tank, and also Miltank for the extra, to buy themselves some time, I guess. Because Miltank is basically blocking your opponent from using V cards to damage their Pokemon. And they even have Ambipom to flip coins for extra damage. So Ambipom Miltank is kind of a good combo, but I'm not sure about the Ice Rider. Why do they have the Ice Rider? It matches well with Wobbuffet, but I feel like they're trying to pull off too many things. They're juggling between way too many combos, and normally if you're juggling too many things, it kind of falls apart. Okay, they retreated onto the bench on the last turn. So that's the thing I've been saying about the early Pursuit Blast. If they retreat after you play Word of Ruin to avoid the knockout, you can actually do Pursuit Blast early with your Skuntank. So Skuntank is able to pull off Pursuit Blast right now. And we got 120 damage in the game, and all we need is to play Moltres to kill off the Ice Rider VMAX. I don't think Slowking is doing enough damage without the single strike energy, so we either need to get our single strike energy to dig for that special energy from the deck to kill off the Ice Rider later on in the game, or to keep that Choice Belt on Moltres. If they play Crushing Hammer, if they play Tool Scrapper or Lost Sweep, Lost Vacuum, they can still discard our tool card and deny us the knockout with Moltres. So we need 200 damage to kill off the VMAX. And Moltres would be perfect if we can keep that tool card on the Moltres. We don't actually have Zigzagoon for this list. We have no Telescopic Sight as well. Okay, they're doing an escape rope. We're just gonna put our Slowking because it has the hiding energy. They could actually be doing a knockout though. I don't think we should be putting the Slowking, my bad. So they got the Ice Rider. That means they can quite easily do a knockout right now. 250 damage. They just need 1 water energy and they got 250 damage to kill any Pokemons that we put forth. And that's the reason we put the Bibarel. We have to watch out for the Ice Rider. So Apom is gonna defend, is gonna do a coin flip. Is gonna protect itself from effects of attacks and all damage done to itself on the next turn, which is gonna buy themselves 1 extra turn, I suppose. Okay, they got a Tails though. We have no choice but to play Escape Rope, so I don't think we can kill the Apom on this turn. So let's just save our Moltres. We're gonna save our Moltres for the Ice Rider knockout, and we're just gonna do Ultra Ball to kill off the Miltank. They're probably gonna put the Miltank right now. I don't think they would be that silly to put the Ice Rider VMAX. They kind of need the Radiant Venusaur for the draw sport. Okay. Ambipom. We should be doing the poison though, but we actually played Word of Ruin. I don't know why. We got the Ultra Ball. I guess we were saving Zigzagoon for a rainy day. We don't need the Energy Switch though. I don't think we need the Energy Switch anymore. So we should definitely have done Ultra Ball for the VMAX. And then kill off the Miltank during Pokemon Checkup while basically forcing them to play the VMAX or the Ambipom on the next turn. Because right now they can actually do a switch and a knockout. If they play, if they switch onto the VMAX, they can quite easily do Max Lance to kill off our Slowking, and then that means Zigzagoon is not going to do anything, and we would have done nothing. Like, I mean, that's kind of careless, isn't it? So always evolve while you can, because Slowking dies very easily. V Pokemons doesn't really cut it right now. It dies way too easily. If you don't play V Guard or Cape of Toughness, you can't actually avoid the knockout against, against a V Star deck, against a 1 prize deck. They can quite easily knock out a V Pokemon if you haven't evolved yet with 1 hit. Okay. We have to kill the Apom. I feel like we should have done Shrieking Poison. We should have done Shrieking Poison to deal with the Apom. And then knock out the VMAX with Serena on the next turn. I don't know why, but we actually played... Oh, okay. Temple of Sinnoh. That means we can't retreat. We can't actually attack. Temple of Sinnoh is shutting down our Hiding Energy. And that means Hiding Energy is not doing anything but, supplying a colorless. We're kind of stuck this turn. We can't do anything, unfortunately. We can do Energy Switch. We can do Energy Switch and retreat to the Moltres. But we kind of want to save the Moltres for our for the VMAX. So I don't think we should be retreating to the Moltres. Okay. Venusaur can actually attack for this game. So Poland Bloom, my bad. What's it called again? Poland something. They're gonna do a poison. They're gonna poison, burn, and confuse our active with that attack while doing 90 damage at the same time. It needs a lot of energies though. So confuse means we need to switch and attack with something else. But I don't think they can attack with Venusaur that easily. They need a Raihan. So they got Melanie and Team Yell's Cheer as well. I feel like they want to be playing, they're kind of doing a control deck of sorts. Because Miltank is denying your opponent from doing any damage if they play V cards. Ambipom is denying your opponent from doing any damage. If they flip a tails, well, if you flip a heads, my bad. If you flip a heads, you get to prevent all damage done to Ambipom. And that means you're buying, you know, a lot of turns. You're buying a lot of time for you to get your Ice Rider to do fast damage as well. So Ice Rider, I'm not sure why they're playing that. I guess possibly they could have a Camo Poncho with the Wobbuffet. If they play Camo Poncho with Wobbuffet, that would be, you know, a very, very interesting combo. We actually played that though. We played that with our Duraludon VMAX having 0 weakness. Playing a Dragon type is ideal with Wobbuffet because you get to block weakness. You get to block the damage boost from weakness. You also get to have an extra HP. We got 330 HP with our Duraludon. We even get to boost its HP with our Abomasnow, single strike Abomasnow, adding 50 more HP to our VMAX. While playing our Furisode Girl, Energy Switch, and also Camo Poncho to do our Wobbuffet for the Mirror Pain. So Mirror Pain is gonna help you place damage counters on your opponent's active Pokemon equal to the number of damage counters on your bench Duraludon, while also denying them from doing a boss on the next turn because you have a Camo Poncho on your Duraludon. That means they can't do a boss, they can't kill your Duraludon. They are forced to deal with the Wobbuffet. They're forced to deal with any other Pokemon. They may still do a boss on your Abomasnow though. So if they do a boss on the Abomasnow, I don't think they would be able to kill the Duraludon. If they kill the Duraludon after, you know, by shutting down your ability though, that would be pretty bad. Because if you tank more than 330 damage with your Duraludon having your Abomasnow in play, they can actually do a double knockout by killing the Abomasnow. Because without the ability, Duraludon has 330 HP back, and that means it cannot tank more than 330 damage without Abomasnow. So we actually killed off the Ice Rider, and now we got one remaining prize card. We got our single strike energy, and 200 damage is enough. We got Sneasler, single strike, and also our Choice Belt. We're doing exactly 20 damage counters with our poison effect and the damage boost. And here comes the Venusaur doing a poison burn and, you know, poison burn and confusion effect, forcing us to retreat. But we got the Bird Keeper is over. It's actually over. They got a lot of control cards though. They got Team Yell's Cheer, Ambipom, Special Conditions, Miltank, Temple of Sinnoh. They got quite a quirky deck. Quite a fun deck. So we're just gonna Bird Keeper, retreat, and kill off the Venusaur with our Max Toxify instead of doing Aura Burn, which would be the same thing though. Aura Burn would actually be enough to knock out the Weezing, to kill off the Venusaur. Okay, let's go for the next game. We actually won against, I would say a beginner, but I don't really want to say that though, because they actually have a few good cards in their deck, right? Miltank is gonna help them survive. We actually got past Miltank, which is a big deal. We got past Miltank, we got past the VMAX, and we also got past the Temple of Sinnoh. Okay, they got a Darkness box. What could they be playing? We got a pretty good start, except we don't have an Incense for Bibarel, or a Switch for that matter. We kind of need a Switch to attack with the Slowking, so let's hope we draw something good from the top deck. We got a Slowking, and the VIP, which is kind of grand, because normally we wouldn't get the VIP. I'm not sure why we're playing 4 copies, but it's so difficult to get it. It's so difficult to get VIP pass on your first turn, even if you have 4 copies and 4 quick balls as well. With 1 capture, I mean, it's just ridiculous. The number of cards you have to fit in to make the deck consistent is just fucking ridiculous right now. It's way too much. Because meta decks have too many consistency cards. You don't really have the space to think about creative ideas. You don't have the luxury to pull off interesting combos anymore. If you want to focus if you want to make the deck super consistent, I don't think you have the space to make it that creative. Out of the box and grand, amazing, spectacular. I prefer spectacular decks, fancy decks that is pulling off a different strategy, that you're trying to use a different way of winning the game. And if you win the game with a different strategy, you are actually doing some kind of a breakthrough in the TCG format, and that's actually a big deal. In my opinion, whoever is doing that is actually gonna do a lot. Is gonna, inspire people to do better in their lives, to create extra things, to create extraordinary things. Okay, here comes a Grimmsnarl deck. They have a Grimmsnarl from Sword and Shield, the very first copy released, with the Dark Oath ability, forcing us to attach an extra, adding our attack cost by 1 colorless, and that means we need 1 more energy to attack, and they actually get to do more damage for each energy attached to our active as well. So if we attach more energies, they're doing more damage, and they actually get to do a 2-hit knockout with their 1 prize stage 2 Pokemon, which isn't really a good deal though, because it's a stage 2 and, it's not even doing enough damage to kill off a V-Star with 1 hit. I don't think it really cuts it in meta right now. Against VMAX, I think you still just stand a good chance. So it's doing 120 damage if I'm not mistaken. 120 damage plus 30 more for each energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. So if they have, for example, 3 energies attached, they get to do 220, I think. 220 damage with Grimmsnarl. Okay, we got Moltres and Energy Switch. We kind of need to retreat right now. So Furisode Girl is kind of a bad card, honestly. I would prefer, if you're doing nothing but benching a basic and switching, you might as well allow us to switch into any Pokemon, right? Furisode Girl should have been, what it should have been is, search your deck for any basic Pokemon, put it onto your bench, and then switch your active with any one of your bench Pokemon. If you get to switch with any one of your bench, that would make Furisode Girl so much more powerful. It would make it so much more viable in standard right now. Why is it only allowing you to switch into the new Pokemon? Why doesn't it allow you to switch into any of your bench Pokemon? It's a supporter card, is not doing anything else. It's a fucking supporter card, for God's sake. You could easily just change the effect, right? Like, why not? It's just so frustrating. This game is frustrating. They don't allow for cards to work. Certain cards are just not allowed to work. It's so difficult to make them work. Okay, we got our V-God energy. We're just gonna do energy switch right now. We actually get to retreat. If we don't retreat right now, it would be too late. So if we do energy switch, we can discard the energy and reattach to Moltres. So I don't think it would actually cost us too much. It wouldn't actually cost us that much energy-wise, because we are able to collect back the energy on the next turn. We actually played Dire Flame Wings already, my bad. So we can't actually collect back the energy with Moltres right now. But we eventually can do it. We don't really need to do it this turn anyways. So we got another energy switch for us to attack. If we don't get another energy, we got it though. So we actually need 3 energy on Slowking to kill off the 𝑑𝑻𝑪𝑮𝑶, and even then I don't think it's enough, because we are only doing 15 damage counters though. We are only doing 10 damage plus 14 damage counters, and they got 170 HP on the 𝑑𝑻𝑪𝑮𝑶. I don't think we would be able to knock it out with one hit. If they switch, we don't have our Skuntank. We have our energy switch and capture though. So if they switch, we can actually play Skuntank at some point, I suppose, with Furisode Girl, but I don't think it's that easy, because we need another energy. We got double turbo, so we could actually play Skuntank at some point. We have the potential to play Skuntank. We're gonna do capture. Oh my god, I think we made the mistake there. We should have done capture on the Slowking, and then, you know, keep the Skuntank inside the deck, because if we bench the Skuntank right now, they're probably gonna do a switch. They're probably gonna know what we're up to and not retreat onto the bench. If they don't retreat though, they can't recover from the special condition. We're kind of forcing them to retreat by poisoning their active and doing a heavy poison at that. If they switch, Skuntank is not gonna work. And they have nothing but the active though, so we just need to play Moltres. We just need to play Moltres really. We kind of need an extra energy on Moltres, so we're just gonna do energy switch and play the double turbo on Slowking, because we got energy switch. We don't want to be reducing our damage on the Moltres. Even if we play the double turbo though, we would be able to knock it out anyways, because we're doing 170 damage with Aura Burn. So that's actually enough to kill off the 𝑑𝑻𝑪𝑮𝑶, and that would be the end of the game. So we won against a one-price deck with our Slowking with Skuntank. We didn't actually use Skuntank, but we did use Moltres to win the game. So that's all for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you next time. Have a great day, and bye for now, people. Enjoy your life.